Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, host of the Business Insurance Zone. Today I'm interviewing Rick Yeatts, president of Yeatts Performance Group. Rick's a personal performance coach and strategic sales closer. On today's topic, we're going to be talking with Rick on the law of influence and offering Rick's coaching manual and his 5 video vignettes absolutely free at www.brokersalliance.com/personal life coach. Rick's going to walk us through why the world loves to buy, but they hate to be sold. He's going to also talk to us about solutions to sell savvy clients. He's going to highlight the core consumer-centric selling and how to use it, and we're going to learn the law of influence and create the impact for your practice so that you can sell even more. Remember, you can watch this show and all our shows on YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and the on-demand section of brokersalliance.com. Well, I'm Steve Savant, the whiz of the biz, and today with us, our performance coach, Rick Yeatts.
Hey, Steve. Good to be with you again.
You too. And listen, we're broadcasting live from Fountain Hills, Arizona to a nationwide network of financial professionals. The Fountain is, by the way, America's largest fountain right here in Arizona.
That's right.
Hey, listen, if you want to write me, you could write me at thebiz@brokersalliance.com, or you can call 1-800-290-7226, extension 147, for any questions you may have on life insurance, annuities, DI, LTC, or group pension plans. And remember, I don't give tax or legal advice, so before moving forward with anything you hear on the show, always talk to your CPA and attorney, and if you're a FINRA representative, always check in with your compliance department before moving forward with any of our strategies. Well, today, and if you've missed any of our shows with Coach Rick, you need to go back out, hop out, and catch our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday show right out there. You can do it on our archive, www.brokersalliance.com. Just go to our homepage, click on it, look for Coach Rick Yeatts' information and his videos. And again, we're giving those away on the ULR address is brokersalliance.com/personal life coach. And you can download all 5 video vignettes of Coach's teaching, as well as you can get his manual, his coaching manual. It's excellent material. Today we're talking about, I think, maybe a haiku of the week.
Wow.
The law of influence.
Yes.
And I keep thinking, you know, what was it? I think I was watching, they were saying like, Oprah for years used to be the #1 woman that had worldwide influence.
Right.
And I'd always think, wow, you know, was that because she was on the air all the time or because she actually had value? Now I notice that Lady Gaga is up there now. She's influencing. Is that good? Is that a good thing? I don't know. I don't know. But talk a little bit about the law of influence, because a lot of us want to be influenced. We actually want to be centers of influence because that's how sales happen. Well, talk a little bit about that.
You remember the premise of this training is about people love to buy, but they hate to be sold, and that's the American culture today. People do not want to be sold, but we do love to buy. We're consumers. We're born consumers, so that's just in our DNA. That's how we do life. We love to buy, but never has there been more of a challenge than to be selling. This is one of the days in our history of our nation where you don't want to be a salesperson. But you do want to be that catalytic person that lets people get your opportunity, your products, services, and whatever you're having to sell. And because you know they need it, they know they need it, and the only thing standing between your potential client and the company you represent and the opportunity you represent is you. So today, more than ever, we need a strategy. We need to understand that we're not in the days of past. We're not fooling with the skill sets of the past. There's a whole new day. It's a whole new consumer. The Generation Y and the Gen Xers have now hit the buying market of America's culture today, and they do things very differently. It's a mixed parade of how things are done today. So we need to get smarter, we need to be wiser, and we need to be sharper. I used to title this training, How to Sell Anything to Anybody, Anytime. But really, the word sales in itself is one of our big challenges, just the word sales and what it evokes. Very often it evokes talking, or evokes the idea of persuading people to do something, sometimes that they maybe didn't want to do or really don't need to do. But really, when you think about it, we're talking about the very foundation of what I call the entry level of how the sales experience really occurs today and what makes a difference in performance in sales, and that is creating influence.
When I think of the law of influence, I think of this, you know, this is a boilerplate foundational thought. It's really an underpinning to everything you're going to talk about. So if I have to lay it out, I mean, I want to have influence. I don't think any producer doesn't want to have it. We all want it.
We all want it.
How do we kind of display influence? How do we create influence? How can we maintain it?
Well, the truth is that, Steve, even though it is a fundamental area, it's not elementary. It's only elementary if you're doing it. One of the biggest mistakes I see that salespeople make today, and I go into sales arenas and sales lines and the sales cultures all the time. I observe, I watch, I talk to managers, I train very often. I'm constantly training. And one of the biggest mistakes I see is sales representatives going up to a potential client, offering them their opportunity of a product or services with someone who they've created no influence whatsoever. It's all based on their ability to outsell their competitor. Sell, by that I mean present their products and services in such a way through talking, through bantering, through presentation, that they just sort of wow the person that they're talking to into the action they want them to take. Let's define sales influence. Sales influence, according to Yeatts Performance Group, this is our definition. When we talk about sales influence, we're talking about the ability to have a positive effect on the opinions, the behavior, and the actions our clients take. That's what we're talking about. That's what sales influence is. Sales influence is the ability to have a positive effect on the opinions, behaviors, and actions of others. You know, one of the things that begins with is understanding what my mission is before I start my sales opportunity. I start with every sales opportunity with a mission. Number one, to make the person or potential client more aware of my product than they were before I met them, to like it, and to have a favorable outcome to that. Number two is to make a sale. But number three, the third thing I want to do, if as I don't make a sale, is know the real reason I didn't make a sale. I really want to understand that. Get a better opinion. Number two, make a sale. But number three, if I don't make a sale, I want to know what the outcome is. I want to know why that didn't happen. Why? Because that's the only way I can improve. So every opportunity to share with somebody is not to get them to buy. It's sandwiched between some very objective goals. Now, when I've programmed them into my thinking, that's exactly what I'm going to perform. And it all begins with sales influence. Sales influence is the catalyst I use to create everything good that's going to happen throughout the whole presentation. I like to say it this way, that when I'm talking to a potential client, if I'm talking about, it begins with what I'm talking about. If I'm talking about anything other than them, I'm selling. And I also am operating on the premise that people don't like to be sold. So why am I talking about the product? The first thing I want to be doing when I offer my product, be it a life insurance policy, an annuity, regardless of what it is I'm going to be offering my client, the thing I want to be talking about above and beyond anything else is them. Why? Because people like to talk about themselves. I need to develop influence, and I can't do that without being connected to them.
So if I'm talking about my client, that's a good thing. If I'm talking about myself, that's a bad thing.
And I'm talking about my product. Because if I'm talking about myself, I'm self-centered. If I'm talking about my product, I'm product-centered. If I'm talking about my client, I'm client-centered, and we call that consumer-centric. Consumer-centric selling, which is really the premium focus of today's selling, is really about putting the client at the very center of the process. It's going in with a mindset that says, but number one, I'm not even going to talk about my product. I'm certainly not going to talk about me. I'm not going to talk about anything that's not pertinent to what my main mission is here, and that's to talk about you. It's not a tactic. It's a way of thinking. It has to come from some other place than just trying to go out and build rapport. And we've all heard these cliches in the past. Make a friend, make a sale. Go out, build rapport. Do a good discovery. These are things that have very little objectivity to the real reality, that you can do all those things and never develop influence. Influence occurs when people really begin to let you have and make a difference on their opinions, behaviors, and actions. You don't have influence. And influence is incremental. It develops. It can start out very low. Why am I talking to this person about this opportunity? Well, because I have the right to. My company's empowered me. But that's all I have. I don't have influence with them. You know, we've almost gotten away from the fact that today that people still buy us before they buy our product. Steve, people don't believe your product. They don't believe it's going to do this in the event of a health issue or a life issue. They don't believe that it's going to perform that way. They buy you, and they believe that you believe that. They don't know the writing in that. I doubt that most of your clients read everything they should read when they buy a product from you. But what they should be able to do is buy you. They buy us first, and then they buy our product. And that has never gone away. People still want to do business, life on life, eye on eye, with people whom they trust and can have confidence in.
Now, I remember the last time I bought a brand new car, the salesperson on the floor popped the hood, and because it's a brand new car, the engine looked immaculate.
Right.
So he's telling me all the mechanics, Steve, who doesn't have a piece of mechanical thinking in his mind as for when it comes to automotive. And he's telling me all the things, and my bottom line was, I'm pretty sure that the engine runs on oxygen and something to do with combustion. And the performance, if I need it, will be there when I push the accelerator.
Right.
True or not?
Right.
So he managed the depth of mechanical, and I was looking for more than, I just wanted to know what am I going to do? Is this the car I need for me?
Well, that's what we end up doing. When we don't build rapport, when we don't build the right kind of connectivity to have influence with people, then what we end up doing is selling features, advantages, and benefits that's not pertinent to them. Let me give you some signs of what I call evidences of that you violated the law of influence. The first would be when we don't have influence with people, we prejudge. You cannot and will not prejudge a person with who you built a relationship with. The only reason you prejudge them is because you don't know them. The truth of the matter is you don't know if you have anything for them. You don't know if you can do anything for this person. You assume you can because you're a salesperson, but you're not a transformational person. Transformation person is one who comes and changes things for the better. So the first thing first evidence that you've violated the law of influence is when you start talking about these products and services with which you have no idea whether they need it or not, or you prejudge. Number two is we start talking about that product. We just start talking about how to use it, what it does, and we don't even know what's important to them. I've never walked into a car lot, like you said, ever, and started focusing in on the size of the engine. I assume the engine runs. I hit the button and it gets me there. What I want to know is, do I look good when I do it? Is it one of those cars that's going to make me look good? Because it's hard to make me look good at this age, but we're working on it. But those are the things that are really important.
I think you just defined everybody out there, 55 and older, midlife crisis.
Again, when you violate the law of influence, these are the things you're going to do because you haven't built influence. So you got to talk about product. You got to talk about this other stuff. And what you're not talking about is them.
I hope we learn this because this is a really wake-up call, centering on the client, centering on them, not talking about our product, not talking about us, and being relational, not transactional. That's what I just heard of that. Well, listen, when we come back, you've been listening to the Business Insurance Zone. When we come back with Coach Rick, we're going to talk about some of these other points because I want to get into the 7 signs of influence.
That's right.
Well, Steve Savant here. I'm going to take a little break from our interview with Coach Rick and talk to you about our life insurance financial evaluation. It's really one of the most powerful due diligence and life audit tools for any contract or policy that your clients may have. What we do is we send you the data collector and the full PowerPoint presentation so that you can collect all the right information. What we'll do then is do the assessment here, kind of evaluate the contract to see if we can do a better job either by reducing the premium or adding additional benefits. One of the things that are moving this right now is the medical technology has changed so much that your client who might be standard might be able to get preferred plus, or super preferred, and clients who may have had traditional table ratings may actually be able to get standard. Some of the performance on these contracts have changed, and a lot of people are moving into the new technologies, whether it's indexing, current assumption UL, or some of the other policies. So it's really important. Just call 1-800-290-7226, and we'll do a complete life evaluation for you. Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm Steve Savant, your host, insurance columnist, financial color commentator, and interviewer extraordinaire. With me today, of course, is Coach Rick Yeatts from Yeatts Performance Group, and we're talking about the law of influence, and especially now we're talking about the 7, is it 7?
Could be,
7.
Maybe more.
Maybe more. And remember, you'll be able to download any of Coach his manuals, his videos, everything's out there at www.brokersalliance.com/ Performance Life Coach, absolutely free. Just download it and get a taste of what Coach Rick is talking about on our show. Of course, these 5 shows are free. The videos are free. The manuscript is free. And I think this second half, when we talk about the law of influence and some of these laws, inside influence, I think it's really huge. Give me the first one that you think is the most important one to lead off our segment.
Well, when you say most important part of what?
When I talk about law of influence, I'm thinking, if I want to develop the law of influence, what's the most underpinning cornerstone issue in influence?
The number one influence is becoming consumer-centric, and that is recognizing that everything centers around this person. You have to put them at the center of the process. We approach almost everything with a product center. We're product oriented. We go, most of our training is about how this product works. So we want to go in there and tell people about everything we know about our product, how it's going to better their lives, but we know nothing about them. The fact of the matter is there's no trust, there's no development of trust, and there's no reason for them to hang this into their life and to anchor it into what you're telling them, unless they can believe that you know enough about them and you care enough about them to make it work. The fact of the matter is, we buy from people. We still do business with people with whom we trust. And influence is the ability to have an effect upon people, their beliefs, their actions, and their desires, because you have done the right kind of work to create a caveat or passport, if you will, to take them in a direction to the buying opportunity. Why the question today on most people's minds is not, do they want your SUV, your energy drink, or your new massage cream? The question is, why do they want to buy it from you? That's the question we should be asking themselves. And by the way, that's what they're thinking. There's opportunity on every corner out there for insurance, for annuities, for this, for that, for health, for life. Why do they want that? Why do they want that from me?
I'm thinking even in the mandatory states where you have to have, car insurance. It's mandatory, right? And I'm thinking, well, we can buy from all the big vendors. The big names are out there that have the big commercial time. There's small independents. Why should I buy from them? Well, they're selling me about their product. They're telling me about their moniker. They're trying to sell me on their huge name, and you feel comfortable. But I don't know which agent to call. Why do I call? That commercial never leads me to an agent. So the agent has to take it upon himself to, how am I going to manage my relationships? I don't even know these people. It's a brand new, I want to market. I'm spending marketing money, sales, without any influence.
So what we don't want to do is create product influence. What I would like to see our listeners do is create sales influence. And that's the influence that comes because I've done the right kind of connectivity work with him in such a way and put him at the center of the process that what we're talking about, what we're focusing on, is all about them. Remember, people don't like to be sold, but they love to buy. So what I want to do is I want to do that, and I want to make it about them. It has to become a business model. It's not a tactic, It's not one of those tricks of the trade where this is now a sales tactic we do. It has to become a way of belief, It has to be, as we said earlier in one of our segments, it has to be one of the values that you really have as one of your core values, and then it creates a vision for you really changing people's lives with the opportunity you present, because it's about that person. Now, without sales influence today, we were talking about earlier some of the things that occur. One of the things we occur without sales influence is we just talk too much. We just talk way past the sale. We just provide them with so much information. Why? Because we're product driven. Well, the more they know, again, because knowledge is power. Well, it's not power. Influence is powerful. Influence persuades. Influence involves, and it directs people into a direction. I don't know that my product is the best for this person, but they're not going to get to know it if they don't think I'm the best. It's not the product. If they believe I'm the best, guess what? Your product just needs to be better than the alternative. What people really are looking for is somebody to connect with them in a way that's meaningful so that they can buy without having been sold.
I think of it, just for Brokers Alliance point of view, we are a major league player in the national distribution of insurance products. And many times I have a lot of our producers call me direct and say, Steve, on this spreadsheet or that spreadsheet, who is the best carrier? Who is the best product for this specific issue? And I'll tell them, because really there are nuts and bolts to this that we have to talk about. But at the bottom line, at the final analysis, once I've given it to them and given them a script on this product and why they should do it, influence, I'm handing the ball. They have the knowledge. And they would not have come to me if they had the knowledge. So I'm more and more, I'm kind of gravitating to your side now. You're kind of selling me on this. We'll take care of the knowledge, But your deal, coach, is to take care of their center of influence or create influence.
One of the challenges some of your listeners are going to have is they're going to say, you know, Rick, I did pretty good at this. And by the way, I'm not a great rapport person. I don't build this connectivity that you're talking about. People really love our product. They call in, we advertise, we market, we do a lot of good things right. And my response to that is, absolutely wonderful. You got a good team behind you. Brokers Alliance is a great family. They give you good tools. You've got the great stuff. You've got great training and all product knowledge and all that stuff like that. Now, guess what? And you're already reaching this amount of success. The question is, what could you be doing if you were doing the other things? You know, what could you be doing if you were doing it right? Now, you know, there's a lot of products we could sell that just, as they say, sort of sell themselves. But let me tell you something. I've traveled all over the world, and I've seen people with inferior products outsell people with extreme products because they relied on that and not their personal ability to go in and do the right kind of competencies and develop the right kind of passport with their clients. There's some things we need to be thinking about, Steve. First of all, when we do the right things, we need to create influence, we need to make the right kind of connection. You know, today it's estimated that we make judgments about one another within milliseconds. The professionalism is going out the door in many arenas of the sales opportunity today. But people today no longer feel, they've become so relaxed, they no longer feel like it's a need to be professional. The boundaries are out the door. And I'm not saying that boundaries that are too tight are really helpful either, because boundaries that are too tight don't let us get personal enough. But we need to learn to make a good connection. We need to learn to make it about them. We need to, number two, put the client again at the center of the process. I cannot say that enough. If it's my mindset to go into the opportunity to sell something and put them at the middle of this, I've become consumer-centric already. And the third thing we have to do is establish expectations of our clients. You know, I'm surprised today of how many sales representatives today that don't do an agenda. They really don't present people, this is our buying process, this is what I need to do. Steve, I'm going to sit down and talk to you today. You know what, right now I don't know if I have anything before you, but maybe I do. But before we go any further, I just need to find out a little bit about you. Then I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it into a computer, and I'm going to weigh that against what we know, and then I'm going to come back to you some facts and figures, and then it's going to help me to help you. In order to do that, I'm going to ask some questions. Now, as I said, we don't have everything. Our product's not for everybody, and I don't know if it's for you, but for the many people who do buy our product, they love it, and we take care of them, and that's what I want to do today. I'm giving you an agenda right now, Steve. Basically, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, and the comfort zone, the things that does, it affects your what? And my ability to influence. Why? Because you're beginning to trust me. I'm telling you what's going to happen before we do it. I'm telling you I'm going to give you empathy. You know, Steve, I know what it's like to do business with someone who you've never met before. And so I've been in your shoes. What am I saying to you? I'm a person just like you. Do people want to do business with people who are just like them? Sure. Absolutely. And what am I doing? I'm building influence. So one of the things we seek to do at Yeatts Performance Group is really teach cultures how to create an arena of influence. Now, Rick, the question comes very often back to me, how do you know you have influence? What are the 7 signs of influence that we talked about earlier? How do we know we got that? Let me give a few things to you. First of all, you know you're building influence when you have a clear demonstration of respect back to you. If you're just some guy, they don't remember your name. They don't know. They don't even remember the name of your company. Guess what? You don't have a lot of influence. Why should you price your offer to them or continue to present the product? They're not listening. It's rolling off them like water off a duck's back. They're not in there. There are people that I talk to I don't present my opportunity to. Why? Because I don't have enough influence. I'm just throwing it away. I'm wasting my shot, as you might say. So you want to create a clear arena of respect. When you see respect, they start calling you by your name and the company you represent, and they have those indications that you're not something, you're somebody. You're beginning to move forward. Number 2, there's an active listening going on. You're not talking at them, they're engaging that process. Number 3, their reactions begin to turn to responses. Almost any time we're going to offer something to people, we often have to go through this fear zone of their factor of resistance. That's the walls and barriers, or what they call the mufflers they set up to not receive too much. And so, or we call them boundaries. So when they start responding instead of reacting, you know you're creating influence. Maybe number 4 or number 5, they follow instructions. I need this from you. In order to help you, I need that. And they're willing to give you that. You know you're creating influence. You're walking them down the path of becoming a consumer with you. They're beginning to, they're seeking your guidance. Steve, if you were me, what would you do? What would you do? Now you know you're really creating influence here. How's that happening? Because you're getting to know about them. You're making it about them. You're asking questions about them. And last of all, you really know you got influence when they start offering referrals. You know, Steve, this would be perfect for my cousin. You should need to talk to Jim, my neighbor. This would be awesome. Now you know influence is occurring. But up until then, you just hope there is.
But you know, that's a huge, especially this last one, that's a huge point because I was taught from day one, you must learn to ask for referrals. And now you're sitting there going, you see reluctance in your client who bought from you to give you referrals. Did he have sympathy on you? Was he feeling bad for you? Or he doesn't want to give you more names?
Right.
And now I'm kind of waking up to your issue of influence, because if you're a center of influence, he now starts to say, you know, I have people, I have a relative, I have a friend, I have a neighbor. You know, I like that.
Right. Well, I think what happens whenever we have no when we were dealing with people with no interest with us because we haven't made it about them, we start to have a lot of this questions with no connectivity. They ask questions, but they're very generic. They're not. There's no connectivity to it. They're just almost misleading. We have positive responses, but with no commitment. You'll see that very often. People will be very positive, but they don't make a commitment at the end. And you don't know there's a commitment because very often these people will, yes, and that sounds good, and yes, I see that, but at the very end, they slam the door. And I get this from agents all the time. I walk through the process, and at the end, I get a no. You were getting no's all along. Unfortunately, you didn't know it. That's one of the real sad realities of that. And then lastly, when there's no interest in that because of poor connectivity, there's a focus again on the products and services and not the representative, not you, not them. So again, when the center of the activity is about this product, does the product important? Absolutely. Are we skilled and trained to do that? Absolutely. Then there's a time for that, but not at the beginning.
Wow. Well, I love this influence part, the law of influence. Remember, you can hop on our site and look at all of Rick's video shows. They're great. BrokersAlliance.com/performance life coach. Did I get that right? Personal life coach. You want to make sure I get the right one. Well, I'm Steve Savant. You've been listening to the Business Insurance Zone. That's the buzz on the biz for today. Get in the zone, the Business Insurance Zone.
This has been a Bravo video event of the National Insurance Clearinghouse and Brokers Alliance, one of the largest distributors of insurance products and services to a nationwide network of insurance professionals. You can contact Brokers Alliance at brokersalliance.com or 1-800-290-7226, extension 147.